Dear boomers, last night Anthony Davis had Dr. Bandy Lee back on his program, and I believe he will have her on every week from now on to discuss the dangers of the narcissist Donald Trump. Bandy Lee is a forensic psychiatrist who has spent most of her career studying violence and the effect it has on the people who surround a violent person. Um, People are terrified of Donald Trump, but more and more people are leaving him, mainly because of what happened at the Capitol January 6, 2001. A lot of people cite that one incident as being a culmination of things that made them turn their backs on this incredibly narcissistic, dangerous man who is Donald Trump. So Anthony was going over the events of the week when it came to what Donald Trump was doing, and he again was talking about crowd size. Crowd size, ooh, is something that is always on the mind of Donald Trump, and he cannot stand the thought that people just aren't showing up like they did in 2016 and 2020. In 2016, he had massive crowd sizes, and he's totally living in the past because it ain't happening anymore. Because people see the violence, people who are not in his cult see the violence and the potential ramification it will have on the press, on the bureaucrats in Washington, women's health, and on gay rights, every kind of right that you can imagine, and his willingness to round up immigrants and put them in cages, which he has admitted he will do. And so getting back to crowd sizes, she says he has been nearly obsessed with crowd sizes to the point where he can invent his own reality to make things more tolerable for him, because for some reason it's totally intolerable that Kamala and Tim Walz have had massive crowd sizes. And when you think about it, I have to say this. On January the 20th, the day before Joe Biden stepped down, we were pretty much, as a Democratic Party, we thought it was all over because his performance at the debate, Biden's performance at the debate, even though Trump's was not much better, Biden's performance at the debate was such that it just didn't make him look like a good candidate going forward, even though we all love Joe Biden, but the enthusiasm for him had pretty much drained down. On the 21st, he stepped down, Joe Biden stepped down, and he gave the reins to Kamala. And ever since then, we have had an amazing, enthusiastic push of positivity, and people have hope again for, maybe take out the drama of this bullshit that we've been living with under Donald Trump. And Donald Trump wasn't even president, but for the last 10 years, he has been under our skin very badly. So this fantasy, and he has to cope with the fantasies of this crowd size by making AI, wiping out all of Kamala's crowd sizes and AI. Do people actually believe that she doesn't have any crowd size? Who cares, right? We don't care. So he has a mental fragility and instability that can only remind us of the emperor has no clothes. This is a great fairy tale written by Hans Christian Andersen. And may I just add that fairy tales are probably something we should read every day to apply to our daily lives. And this one is very appropriate for this situation that Bandy Lee is trying to impart to her audience and Anthony Davis's audience. So we have an emperor who is completely vain. He wears clothes that show off his vanity, and two swindlers come to town, and they tell him that they're going to weave him the most beautiful gown, and that's only suitable for an emperor, and they are going to make him into the most well-dressed emperor of all time. So they get out their looms, and they start weaving nothing. They are not weaving anything. And for days, people come and they see that there's nothing there, but they dare not say anything. So they go, "Oh, very nice, very nice." So they weave and weave and weave. And he puts on this invisible piece of clothing, and he decides to parade down the street and show the world how beautiful he is, how wonderful he is, how gorgeous and narcissistic he is. And he's going down the street, and everybody's going, "Ooh, ah." And a little child steps up and says, "The emperor has no clothes." Now, that's what the press has done with Donald Trump, and that is what numerous, well, we know Fox News does that, and they got in trouble for it before, and they're about to get in trouble for it again with their sexist comments about Kamala. Jesse Walters comes to mind. But the emperor has no clothes. Only people who are honest with great integrity can see through Donald Trump to say it for what it is. And what is it? It's a scourge on our country. We have never seen anything like it. Those of us who have been living in horror for what Donald Trump has done, with 1 million dead in the COVID debacle, and him saying ways to treat it which were false, and not recommending masks and vaccines. And of course, we have a whole bunch of conspiracy theories about vaccines. Or maybe some of these vaccines do cause long-form COVID. The point is that he killed 1 million people with his lack of COVID action. My husband was one of them, and so is my brother. So there's no way that I can say, "Oh, that didn't happen. Nobody died. The insurrection didn't happen." No. In fact, no. So, and then Bandy Lee talks about J.D. Vance, who at one time was totally opposed to Donald Trump. And suddenly he is exhibiting the way he's exhibiting the heartlessness and cruelty that Donald Trump exhibits every day. So he's now exhibiting similar mental patterns as Trump, which is concerning. It's the contagion. Well, Trump is a very powerfully charismatic person, has always been a disgusting human being, especially for women, but he has a way of drawing people in, like J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance at one time did not like Donald Trump, and now he's changed his mind. And the media has been negligent in avoiding discussing Donald Trump's mental fitness, which has allowed his harmful behavior to continue unchecked, similar to the emperor who has no clothes, and everybody's afraid to tell him. This has contributed to the spread of the symptoms among his supporters, leading to a widespread public health contagion and concern. I guess we'll be trying to unravel this for many years to come, and there's nothing we can really do to it, except educate our viewers and educate the public about the importance that mental health has on our leadership. People who get into positions of power are prone to this kind of behavior. It's the power that can corrupt a person. Donald Trump may have always wanted to run for president to be the president, and now he's running for president to stay out of prison if he loses. And when he loses, it'll be hard for his followers to watch him go to jail for many, many years because of his role in trying to overthrow the American government. That is called him being a traitor. And years ago, they used to hang people who did things like that. So let's prioritize mental health education, understand what power can do to people. It can actually, it can corrupt people in a deep and terrible ways. For a person, a mature person, to be a leader in that capacity, they have to have a relative, they have to they have to have an ego, but their ego can be directed towards helping others. And the ego can be used with discernment in things that they choose to do and the things that they choose not to do. So I look forward to having Bandy Lee come back to Anthony Davis's show next week. And The Emperor Has No Clothes is one of the most interesting stories that aligns perfectly with this situation with Donald Trump. I just can't imagine that this can possibly happen, because there seemed to be a Deus Ex Machina situation that occurred where we were doomed almost to have Donald Trump as our president in November 5th. But it ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. Come on over here and see my last video. Love to all.